to another edition of Biblical Business Now. I'm Andre, and to my left is my illustrious colleague.
Michelle. Not yet.
That's true. Directly to my left.
Let's start with you.
I'm Mara. Hello. Urban Impacts Economic Development Program Manager.
Hello, I'm Michelle Rea, and I help with our logistics and all things marketing.
Yes.
And I'm Jaleel Bester, the Business Education Coordinator and Fundraiser.
We are on a very tight ship here, also known as a tight budget, and we're making things happen with our resources. So our microphones are shared amongst us, so we're projecting our voice and using our outside voice. Today we have a very interesting episode for you. I know you've been tuning in. I know this is the highlight of your week. If it's not the highlight of your week, then you have a week that is lacking. You're sorely lacking because you don't get to partake in all of our goodness as we share business principles that will enhance your life, enhance your business, enhance your relationship with yourself, with others, and will cause for you to flourish. Why do we know? Because they're ancient. So this is what we're doing. We're going to talk today about what, Miss Michelle?
Well, the reason that we are all gathered here today is about unlocking your superpowers, your God-given gifts. You all have them. We all have them. Do you use them, though? That is what we're discussing today. Do you use them? And if you don't, how can you be using them? What are tools that exist that you can use to figure out what they are? And what are some ways that our team implements our God-given gifts and superpowers to help inspire all of you watching? Or if you are watching and you use your superpower, you know what your gift is, put it in the chat.
Type it in the chat right now.
Share this live with someone and talk about it later.
Yes.
Talk about your superpowers with whomever you shared this chat or this live with.
Let's define superpower. So when we talk about superpower, I know some of you may not be superhero fans. There are multiple universes of superheroes that have so many different distinct abilities that cause for them to have superior ability to get superior results over their peers. So for yourself, what comes easy for you but is difficult for most? What can you do on autopilot, and as you're doing it, as you're engaged in this activity, it does not drain you. It actually creates strength for you. You lose track of time, right? There's a difference from something that you can do excellent. So there's three levels, right? There's incompetence, there's competent, and there's excellence. And then the fourth level is that dominant, hey, I'm echoed. But then the fourth level is that dominant ability, that superior ability, that gift, that calling, that talent, that thing that makes you superior, that which makes room for you. The scriptures say your gift will make room for you and will put you in places of influence and people of influence because of your gift. So what comes easy for you, but that it's difficult for most? What are you engaged in that you actually lose track of time? And people say, man, hey, they notice, but you don't notice because they were like, we've been here for 6 hours. You're like, oh, I thought we just got here.
Well, another way that I've heard someone put it is if you did not get paid to do this thing,
That's good.
you know, what would it be that you were doing? You received no pay for it. Because you just love doing it so much that you're just happy to do it. And I think that I think like even Mara, you talked about this morning, that you have this gift and you know that you could be charging a lot more for this gift of yours, but it's like, well, I just want to take care of people. Like this is a gift that I have. I just want to take care of people. So that's another thing to unlock. That how do you charge for your gifts?
Absolutely.
But we all got gifts. How
Nothing
you
is
using
free.
them?
Yes, it cost you something. There was a price tag paid for you utilizing your gift. and even and people can reap the benefits of it. And we value what we pay for, right?
Yeah.
You take a look at things that are free and how people treat it. So we know in America, schools are free, even though it is through taxpayer dollars. But the idea of free education is, look at the dropout rates, look at the students how, but look at people who, when they're paying for it, look at the different level of buy-in. Look about when people give you a free product versus something that you pay for yourself, that you've earned, and then you've maybe put money to the side, and then you finally go and you get that, and you take care of it in a whole different level. We see our son take care of things that he pays for way differently than the way when the parents pay for it.
Yeah.
Something that he's wanted that
Yeah.
he earned money for, and that he's taking care of it way differently.
Values it differently.
Pride of ownership.
Pride of ownership.
That's a principle. You know, when we talk about unlocking our superpowers, I want you to imagine how frustrating it would be to see a character like Superman get boxed by Lex Luthor. Just could you imagine just watching Clark Kent go from Superman, and he's walking around and just getting beat up and oppressed by life, by villains, knowing how powerful he is and not operating in his gift would be probably one of the most depressing movies that you could watch. And the only way that Lex Luthor could possibly pull that off is if he surrounded Superman with a bunch of kryptonite. And so what I start thinking about when we're unlocking our superpower is the environments that we're in. And who is the kryptonite person, or what's the kryptonite environment that could be in your life that's suppressing all of that power that's in you.
That's good.
You know?
So to recap so far, number one is, what is it that you do that makes you lose time, that'll help you figure out what your gift is? And two is, what is the kryptonite around you that's blocking you from using that gift?
Let's start being personal. How do people unlock their own gift? Since we're talking about this, how do people unlock? What are some ways that you can unlock your gift? Because that's what I was talking about. There's incompetent. There's things that you do incompetently. There's things that you do competently. There's things that you even do excellent, but it's still not your gift. There's things that you do excellent that even make you money. So I don't want to conflate the difference between that which you do excellence with what you're actually gifted in. There's something there's another level. That next level up is that which is creating energy for you. And you're like, man, when I'm in this, I'm flowing. There's a difference between that. And sometimes you got to take excellent off your plate and pay somebody to do excellent for you so that you can get more into the gift lane. So it's just like highlighting and making sure that we're not just, as we say, there's a scripture that talks about, Paul says that, let us not be of those that he's not just boxing an opponent and he's just beating the air. You want to be precise. You want to be direct. You want to be engaged with what it is that you're gifted with. So what are ways personally which you've seen glimpses of the gift that you have, and some of you, everybody on here, might fully know what their gift and their superpower is. Start talking about that. Let's talk about some situations that arise that show you, and then let's also talk about the kryptonite, and let's help the audience to understand this and begin to think in these terms.
Well, I can get us started. So I had a mentor in my life shortly after college. My whole goal was to join the Air Force, all right? My parents are both in the military. Since 8th grade, I was obsessed with planes. My dad worked on planes. And I was like, oh, this would be amazing to do. And but I also had this entrepreneurial ambition that my dad cultivated with my brother and I as well, and my sister, in cutting grass and doing these things. So it's like I had this vision to do planes, but then I'm like cutting this grass. And I'm like, oh, what do I want to do now? College is coming to a close, and I'm thinking, yep, it's going to be the Air Force, right? Well, I'm talking to my recruiter, and there's a bunch of things you have to do to actually get in, and it would be about a year until I was actually able to do it. And so I'm like, okay, well, I need to do something. Read a great book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A sentence in that book changed my life. Don't just get a job for the money you can make, get a job for what you can learn. And so there's another book I'd read, Money, 7 Steps to Mastering the Game by Tony Robbins, that's where my first introduction to passive income, real estate investment, all that stuff came from that. So this mentor I had in my life, his name was Tyler. He was the father of one of my buddies that I wrestled with. And so as I'm talking to Tyler, I'm like, Tyler, it's going to be forever until I get into the Air Force doing what I want to do with this planes thing, this dream that I've had since 8th grade. And I'm seeing in this book I should go do something with real estate because I'm interested in it. And Robert in this book is telling me, okay, don't just get a job for money, get a job in the field you want to learn in. So and he was a real estate agent. Hey, do you know of any positions open or whatever? And so Tyler helped me get my first kind of job in real estate, which I figured out I didn't love it. It was property management. Fast forward, I'm now in the same week, and God is crazy. So fast forward, I now found myself in the position where I'm doing a job interview for my first loan officer position. In that same week, I flew the simulator for an F-16, which is the electronic attack plane they fly out in Whidbey Island. And because one of my other buddies, his dad was an instructor, and he knew I was interested in it, and he was just positioned to help me out. So God is like, his hands are all over this thing, right? And so in that same week, I'm talking to Tyler, and I'm like, okay, I've literally got to taste what it would be like to be the pilot in the military. Like, I mean, I'm in the cockpit. Like, there were certain things that they had to cover up and everything. But I got to do the controls. I got to fly, and I almost landed, but I crashed. So I would have died, unfortunately. But he was like, hey, you're pretty close. Like, you have a proclivity towards this. And Tyler said something to me that changed my life. He was like, well, God designed us all for a reason. And so what are the things that align most to your character? Like, where's the gift there? And where do you feel most natural? Kind of like what we're talking about now. And that was really, I hadn't thought of what I wanted to do with my life in those terms. It was mostly just like, how can I make the most money possible? But then Tyler started me thinking on how did God design me? And it was at that moment that I realized, okay, I love connecting with people. I have a energy, like I talk to people and they're like, oh, you have so much energy. I'm thinking like, I don't even, what do you mean? But that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so it was at that point that I was like, okay, this is the direction I'm going to go in. And it's literally changed the course of my life.
Come on.
It literally changed the course of my life. Just that one piece of advice on how did God design you and where do you feel most natural? And for me, I was like, flying a plane, this was a fun experience. This was very cool. I love learning about this stuff. But getting to impact people and be a part of someone else's story, for me, that is like, it's energizing, it's empowering. I lose time in that. Yeah. And just that kind of that service and being able to be help people, you know. So that was kind of a big story. So shout out to Tyler, and he was just such a great mentor and still a great mentor to this day.
Love it. Ladies.
Okay, well, I'll go next, I guess. Well, we were kind of talking earlier about, my ability to pour into my people. And I think my superpower, as a young lady.
Can you pull it closer?
As a young lady, I accepted the assignment to be an example, and I'm very thankful that, I'm aware of what love is, so I'm able to show love and spread love to other people. Now, it may be in the form of sitting in my chair, me building into you while I perform a service, whatever that may be. But that really is something that I could do for free. I really like to bring out the best in people. And so it was new to me that economic development was even a thing because, when you're young and you make adult choices and you have to provide for yourself, like self-employment was really the only option when I was a teenager. So I didn't know that I could build into other people's businesses and it be a career path. And, I think the spreading the love part, I get to enjoy developing a rapport and helping people reach their benchmarks in life as their personal stylist. So, I have to figure out how to best package my gifts, my superpowers, so that it supports my family's lifestyle. And that may, you know, resonate with some of you out there. God has already revealed my gifts. So now it's up to me to put in the work, to figure out how to best serve and how to make it make sense. So that's my 2 cents.
I would say for me, and I think that this is true for everyone. I don't think you have one superpower. I think that there are a couple of things that you're just really good at. And like we talked at the beginning, it's what do people, you know, come to you for? What are you just naturally really good at? And when I think of that is, for me, one of those things is writing. I've always loved writing. I was that little girl who had her diary, and I'd write everything in it. I'd unload at the end of every day. And I still have these little diaries from when I was like in 4th grade. Just my little chronicles of what my life was about. And they're so funny because for me it was just, I just enjoyed the act of writing. Looking back, it wasn't until I got to 9th grade and I went to this very prestigious high school that I realized that I was grammatically very wrong. I was not capitalizing things. I was not putting periods. I was not using commas. I was just simply putting words together. Yeah. And I really just enjoyed it. And my teacher returned my essay to me. It was completely red. Okay. Like all this red ink, and I got a D. And to me, it was like, how are you going to give me a D on something I know I'm good at? I know I'm good at writing. What is wrong with you? So I had to go sit down with him, and he said, no, the content is good. That's not what we're focusing on, though. We're focusing on making sure you know how to capitalize and put periods and commas in the right places. And I was like, okay. But I kept working at it that whole year. I finished that class with an A, starting out with like a D/E because of how bad my grammatical errors was. I jumped into the next year where we were doing more like story writing, and we were reading stories and writing like thesis papers on them. So breaking down what it is that the lessons we were getting from these stories. And I kid you not, like every week my teacher would read my paper out loud to the class. She would always ask me for permission, but that was the first time that I was like, okay, it's not in my head. Like my content's not just good. Like I knew it was good.
Reality demands confirmation.
My teacher is sharing my writing, and she was like, oh, I need, like, this is such a, like, there was actually one time where I got a concussion. So I couldn't use my phone. I couldn't, like, be on screens. I couldn't watch TV. Couldn't use my phone. Couldn't use my computer. My school was all computer-based. And I had to do this, like, in-class essay. Everybody was on their computers. So I created a outline of what I was going to write. And since I couldn't use my computer, I had to handwrite it. I mean, luckily, growing up in the public school system, I never really had access to computers. Writing by hand wasn't nothing new.
People were struggling. You're like, this is who I am.
Oh, yes, take it back to just physical writing. And my teacher pulls me into her office, and she's like, this is one of the best papers I've ever read. Wow. And I literally, all I had was an outline, and I couldn't even edit, right? Because you're on your computer, you can go back, read a sentence, and edit the sentence. No, like, I had to just write. Like, I had to cross things out as I was writing, and then, and I kept that essay. I still have it because it was just such an incredible moment for me. And then moving fast forward, like, my siblings come to me for writing. Like, my brother and my sister I helped them get into college, making sure that they, I let them write something and submit it, and then both of them didn't get into the colleges that they wanted to get into. And I was like, no. We're appealing that. And then we rewrote completely new essays. I completely edited them. I helped them tell a story in their essays, and bam, they were both accepted into the colleges.
Let's go. That's cool.
My brother also got rejected from the engineering program, and I again was like, no, that's not going to happen. We appealed again, created another incredible story, edited it, submitted it. My brother's now in the engineering program at UW, so... And nobody paid me for those things. I just, to this day, nobody has paid me.
He's like, he knows he owes you a royalty. You're like, that first.
This is stock. All right, you have stock now in the life of their business, and so when they make it, they'll pay dividends.
They got royalties and dividends coming to you.
That's fire. You changed the course of their life.
Yes.
Hey.
That's
by
amazing.
using my gift.
By using your gift.
I just loved it until this day. I love writing.
I love the fact that I'll share mine real quick and we'll wrap up. Also, part 2, we can go into the environments that are hindering that are the kryptonite.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to hit on this, how you discover, how you unlock it. So for me, it's the same thing. It comes at a time that's not most convenient. So for me, I knew that speaking, I knew that not early on, but I knew that my teachers would ask for me to read the passage over and over again. When we're doing the thing, back in the day, they used to have everybody get up and read out of the book, and then they'd be, keep going. And I'm in my mind like, I want to keep going. Like, I didn't want that intention. People looking at me like, oh, and people making the little fist like, I'm going to get you out of here. Like, this guy thinks he's been. No, I didn't want to do it. But it was something that they saw that they were trying to call out of just, oh, you sound so well when you read. Oh, you do this. Or when it's teaching, when it's training, when it's encouraging. I noticed that's who it was that I was. And same thing with writing in regards to not my teachers reading my essays, but always being called on to edit people's things, to help put an eye on it, reframe this for me, help me to get into this college, help me with my college essay, help me to get this job, help me to get my resume. And now there are people around the world that can attest, and I say that by the grace of God, and to encourage everybody else. It's like there are people that can attest to saying what it is that, because reality does demand a confirmation. When you taught this principle to me, this unlocked this for me, and this is what's going on as a result. So I realized that and this is a prelude to next week, is that the environments I was in were kryptonite, that were toxic, that were not facilitating the cultivation and the development and the stewardship of that. It was only, I was watching and here's a preview to next week as well. I was watching last night before I went to bed. One of my favorite authors is Beverly Cleary. She wrote all the Ramona books, and the Henry Huggins was her first series that took off, and Socks the Cat, and just different things that she wrote. So she's from Portland, Oregon, and I love watching her interviews, and it was an interview from her. She lived to be like 104. Just passed away recently, but she was 99 at the time. And so they were going and talking to her about her process. And it was crazy because when she was in school, it took her a long time to learn how to read, as they say, properly. So she saw the word city in a book that used to make everybody read publicly. As I was saying, says, I guess public education hasn't changed, because here I'm definitely younger than 104 years old, and we were still doing what Beverly Cleary was doing back when I was a kid. So she said when she read the word on the paper on the page, it said city. And she didn't know. She was confused and so nervous, and so she said kitty. And she said the teacher reprimanded her in front of everybody, and they had 2 reading groups, and her teacher put her in the Blackbird reading group, which was the one that wasn't the good one. And shout out to the Blackbirds. Anyway, you might feel like you a Blackbird right now. Well, that's all right. You could go out to be an author that sells 90 million books around the world. So to the Blackbirds. But she talked about that, about being in that environment, and also how she felt. And it took her 2 years to really get to the place to where she was reading confidently. And she had a teacher that went from scolding her and reprimanding her to another teacher that was able to call out that gift that was in her, and was able to be more patient with her and deliberate with her, and just sit down and be like, no, this is how you pronounce this word, and let's walk through this. So there have been people in your lives that have been encouragers. They've been advocates. They've been angels, so to speak, that have helped help guide you. They've been when Joseph was in prison, they've been your butler that can escort you into the presence of, the opportunity that's going to take you to the next level. They've supported you to getting out of the place of where people don't recognize what it is that you're carrying, to saying, no, this is what you've got. Come on, let's get you in front of the right people. Let's get you in the right environment. So I really hope that this is helpful. We are deliberate and intentional in making sure that we consistently get before you and we pose questions that get you to think. So what is your superpower? Have you taken an inventory recently? What do you do competently? What do you do incompetently? What are some things that you do excellent? But there's still not, there's still more. It even makes money. People say you're good at that and you make money from it, but it's still not fulfillment. And then what is that superior, dominant gifting that you have to where you're creating? That's your superpower. You're creating energy as you're doing it. You're losing track of time. You get superior results and people attest to it. Reality demands that confirmation. So as Michelle said, not only did I have teachers say it, but then when her siblings are in a situation or other people that she cares about are in a situation where that gift was deployed, it brought, and I challenged both of these two because I spend a lot of time as we work together as colleagues. They both have their real dominant gift is compassion, and they express their compassion through the other gifts that they have, which is powerful. So whatever they have compassionately manifests through that way. And Jalil, same thing, he's an encourager. And so he sees people, and when people are downtrodden and when people feel worn out, he brings that energy into the room. He brings that energy into their life to lift them up out of the ash heap and to bring life to them. So it's a powerful thing to really operate in your gift and to walk in that and to really just stay in that, because that's where the blessing flows. That's where all the resources are. If you feel like, oh my gosh, they're talking about the inflation rate. I was watching the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen and, you're all this different stuff. The economy is going to do this and do that. What about your personal economy? Because God says connected to your gift, it's going to make room for you. You would modernly translate it. It's going to make money for you. It's going to create opportunity. It's going to create resources for you because God is the source. Plug into the source and then let the resources flow by you operating in what it is that you're gifted at. So we want to encourage you today. Any announcements, team? Any upcoming things?
I was just going to read the scripture for that. Proverbs 18:16. A person's gift makes room for him and brings him before great people. If you need some encouragement, open up Proverbs 18:16, memorize that, say that over and over again. Yeah.
Amen. And then last update for y'all, go to our website, urbanimpactseattle.org. Find us in the economic development section. If you want to get more information about programs that we have coming up, you can sign up. We have a general inquiry form on there. Just put your information in there, then you'll be added to our email list, and we'll get you tapped in and plugged in. If you're wanting to partner with the work that we do, you want to be a business consultant, you want to be a donor to the work that we're doing, feel free to come. You can put your information in there. We also have 2 events that you can show up to personally, and we'll get to meet you at. The first is May 3rd, a night of impact, where we're going to be in the Renton Pavilion Center, and that's going to be your opportunity. It's a hoity-toity event, ticketed, and you'll be able to come and engage with us there and give to the work. And then we also have our Sharks at the Beach pitch competition, where you'll get to see live action these entrepreneurs that have been rocking with us for 12 weeks, developing their business model canvases. They're going to be communicating their value proposition, their superpower against each other head to head to earn some capital to their business and vision. And that's going to be May 28th, 5:30 p.m. right here at Emerald City Bible Church or Bible Fellowship Church. So those are our announcements. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do all the YouTube stuff. Like, subscribe, share. You should have done that by now. If not, you're square. So we bless you. Shalom, shalom. See you next week. You're not square. You're